Alrighty, so today we are going to finish reviewing the 4 games that happened yesterday, and just like the review I did yesterday on the Saturday action, there were definitely some surprises in terms of these 4 Sunday games, including a game that is no doubt the most surprising result of this week, and probably one of the more surprising result this season alone. But let us begin with the first game, which is Atlanta United versus Inter Miami, and I think what's surprising out of this game isn't because Atlanta won this one and they kind of dominate against a relatively hot Inter Miami team, but also the fact that they were able to dominate despite the fact that they were up a man in this one, which, as I said before many times this season, it still defied logic that so many times this season the team that go a man up tends to be the worst team when they face against a team that is down to 10 men. But in this game, it kind of proved logic again that, when you do have a man up for majority of the game, you would be able to capitalize on those on that and really kind of dominate the game, which is what exactly Atlanta United did for most part of this one. And it kind of also helped that they scored an early goal in this one, because in the 4th minute, Atlanta would get a 1-0 lead courtesy of a goal from Luis Araujo from Joseph Martinez. By the way, Martinez is back in this one, and there's no doubt that he is not only back in the starting 11, but he's back in the starting 11 with some vengeance. Like, he definitely is a guy that looked like is a man on a mission, and he of course scored a goal in this one and also get an assist. But let's also not take anything away from Luis Araujo, which the one of the frustrating thing about Luis Araujo during his time with Atlanta United is that he's been kind of inconsistent. I mean, there's times where he has definitely worth the amount that Atlanta United paid Leo to get him a couple years ago, but then there's times where he basically just does nothing. This seems like it was one of the games that it was worth every penny of Atlanta United getting him from Leo, and he also might have just scored the goal of the week with a wonderful goal. And knowing Atlanta and knowing their fans love to stuff the goal of the week vote, that could be the case in this one. But yeah, that gave Atlanta a 1-0 lead. Though in the 15 minutes, Rios Novo did deny last sitter, but did gave up a rebound that Taylor just hits it over the bar. So one of the cult hero from the CCL run back in 2020 for Atlanta United, Rocco Rios Novo, back in goal in this one, and that he actually almost conceded a goal because of allowing a big rebound. And yeah, Robert Taylor would definitely want that one back with him having an empty net, and he just hits it over the bar. Then Araujo tried to score his second goal in the 24th minute, but he hits it straight to counter. And then in the 28th minute, John Mota would get his second yellow card. And yeah, he just got a yellow card like a minute ago after this. And yeah, I mean, there's just no excuse if you're John Mota. The fact that you just got booked a minute ago, you shouldn't be making another silly foul to get yourself a second yellow card. And indeed, that of course is the case, and that Miami was down to 10 men. Campbell then puts it right to counter, and Atlanta, they look like they were smelling blood. Like, they know the narratives before, where when you're up a man, it's usually never a good thing, at least for this season in MLS. And they're trying to put away that narrative, and they definitely look to try to get a second goal. But we do head to halftime with Atlanta leading 1-0 against Inter Miami. Now in the second half, Vasila did hit one straight to Rios Novo before Mbake almost scored an own goal, but was saved by the post. So this is the second time this week alone we've seen an own goal that could have happened, but it was saved by the post. We saw it in the Orlando versus Houston game, where Teenage Adabi almost scored an own goal, but was saved by the post. And here, Mbake almost scored an own goal here, but was saved by the post after. This is something that I haven't seen it before in MLS. But in the 58th minute, Calendar denied Lennon, who was through on goal, and Atlanta continued to push for that second goal. And they would get that second goal in the 61st minute, as Joseph Martinez, back in his goal scoring form, he scored here from Araujo to give Atlanta United a 2-0 lead. And you just kind of feel like this game feels like done, and that there was just not much resistance from Miami, knowing the fact that, yeah, they know that they're probably not going to come back from this resort. Martinez then puts it wide on the header in the 80th minute, and then in the 87th minute, Lennon tried to flick it into the back post, but there was no one there in the back post to tap it in for Atlanta. Campana with his first real good look of the game, but he puts it wide in the near post. And then as the final whistle was blown, there was some tempers flare between both of these teams, as Dom Dwyer and Damian Lowe kind of exchanged choice words and kind of bumped heads with each other after the final whistle. Now, there was no red card that was shown because of this and that, even though VAR did kind of look to see whether or not there's something excessive that maybe would worthy of a red card from either of the player. In the end, that was not the case, and there was also no yellow card that was shown in this incident. But don't be surprised if the disciplinary committee might look at this and maybe think about otherwise, because yeah, Dwyer and Lowe, they were definitely not only having some choice words, but they were getting close to kind of butting heads with each other. But either way, besides that, Atlanta with a comfortable 2-0 victory against Miami. And the shots in this one, 18 shots for the 12 that Miami has, 8 shots on goal for the 3 that Miami has, 7 shots off target for the 4 that Inter Miami has, 5 shots out of blocked for the 3 that Atlanta has, and possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession that Inter Miami has in this game. So good bounce back home win for Atlanta United after losing the last home game against Columbus. And if this is going to be the Atlanta United that we see for the rest of the season, there's no doubt that they do have a chance in terms of making the playoffs. But the question is, can we see this version of Atlanta United a lot? Because more time or not this season, that just have not been the case for this team. And again, a lot of that has to do with they're just battling with so many injuries right now. But at least to the credit of their front office, they are trying their best in terms of signing a couple of guys. I mean, they've already signed a couple of replacements to trying to fill in those injury gaps. So yeah, they're definitely not giving up on the season, and it kind of also helps the fact that you have a great GM in Darren Eales, and that they are a team that is not afraid in terms of breaking the bank and spending that money to trying to replace guys that is on the injury list. But that being said, moving on in terms of the next match is New England and Minnesota, and this game was a definition of a game of two halves, because in the first half, the Loons were by far the better team and looked like they were going to get all 3 points, and then you realize that, yeah, whenever Minnesota takes the lead on the road, you know what Adrian Heath is going to do. He's going to go row Heath mode, which is decided to just bunker for the rest of the game and do nothing and hope that they can hold on to a lead, and unsurprisingly, for probably the 100th time, it did not work, and it backfired big time. But early in this game, I thought there was a lot of possession for the Loons, but just as is the case for most of the season and really before the break, there was no final third quality for this team, and that kind of continued throughout this whole game too. Though Bo, he almost scored an incredible goal here and almost stole Boxall here. I mean, he basically broke Boxall ankle there. Just an absolute filthy kind of move that Gustavo Bo did to Michael Boxall, and unfortunately, Bo wasn't able to finish it. I mean, if he would have finished that, yeah, not only that would be the goal of the week, but that would probably the most filthiest goal we've seen so far this season. But there was no doubt, I thought the Rams was getting into this game, but it just kind of felt like they were overplaying it a little bit in the final third. And to be fair, the Rams, they weren't that good in this game, especially comes to the final third, but one thing that kind of got them the victory is because of some mistake from Minnesota, as I mentioned, with goalkeeping, which is something I didn't think I was going to say, and then also some great set piece from them. Though before we get to that, Petrovic did deny Reynoso from long range, and then Löw fires one straight to Petrovic before Reynoso went through on goal, but he hits it straight to Petrovic, and I thought the Loons had the momentum. Like they looked like they were going to get the opening goal with the amount of chances that they had, but again, the lack of finishing for this team, which has been also a problem for this team, isn't going to undo this team again, because it's one thing to dominate the game, but if you don't put away your chances, it could come back to haunt this team. Though that being said, in the 34th minute, they have their opportunity to pay off after all those good chances that they had, as they were given a penalty after Farrell brought down Reynoso in the box. Now, I was watching the New England feed in this one, and I just couldn't hold my chuckle of every time when Charlie Davies mentioned the fact that this is a weak penalty. And there's also a reason why I don't watch the instant replay MLS show that both Charlie Davies and Andrew Wiebe tends to have, because I know that show is supposed to be break down some of the most controversial call, but let's just say that when you put both of those guys, that I watched the shows before, and let me just say it's not good. Like it is pretty bad in terms of how they kind of debunk that, and I think this was kind of an example of it, but a lot of that is because of the fact that Charlie Davies, I don't think he's a good color commentator, and that you can clearly see that he has shown a lot of bias and homer kind of mentality toward New England, because that is just like, when you look on the replay, I don't know how you cannot say that is not a penalty unless you decide to go full bias mode. And yeah, Charlie Davies kind of went full bias mode there, because that was 100% a penalty that Farrell basically committed there, bringing down Reynoso in the box, which Reynoso was able to coolly start to the way, and the Loons have a 1-0 lead, which, normally I would think that, this could be a great game for this team, but I also was hoping that maybe they can double that lead, because we know what's going to happen in the second half. They did have a chance to do so in the 39th minute, but Petrovic denied Amaria, though he actually almost spilled this one, and he was kind of thankful for the post there, because if the post was not there, that would have been a goalkeeping howler that Petrovic would have committed. But there was no doubt the Loons was in total control in this game. By the way, this was the final game for Matt Turner, and I was kind of surprised that he wasn't given playing time. I mean, I guess that they trying to have a good ceremony for Matt Turner and what he has done for this Revs team, but I feel like, if you're going to give him one final hurrah, you might as well just kind of play him instead of putting Petrovic. Though I will say that, at least in the limited amount of games I've seen from Georgi Petrovic, he's definitely the real deal, and a guy that I think he is going to be won't be exactly as better than Matt Turner, because it's still going to take a lot for him to do so, but almost on par to do so there. But there was no doubt the Loons was in complete control of this game. Lawrence trying to score the second goal for Minnesota, but he curls it wide from close range. And yeah, we had to halftime with a 1-0 lead, but like I said, I wasn't that satisfied with the way that, these missed chances, it's going to kind of come back to haunt this team, and especially, I just have a feeling in the second half, I know what Adrian Heath is going to do. He's going to decide to kind of park the bus and hope that they can escape with a 1-0 victory, and lo and behold, that is exactly what happened, because in the second half, the Revs were on the front foot early, while Minnesota was going with full Heath mode. Reynoso did have a rare opportunity, or one of the rare opportunity for Minnesota in the second half, with a low shot that goes wide. But then in the 52nd minute, New England ties it, and it's Dylan Barrero scoring from heel to tie the game up at 1 apiece. A rare miscue for Dane Sinclair. Like, I know this one was deflected, but you just kind of sense that that's one that Dane Sinclair clearly should have saved it, and it kind of gone under him as he got a hands to that one. And yeah, I mean, with how amazing Dane Sinclair has been, that's one that he definitely would not want to look back. And it's also just another example of the fact that all goalkeepers make mistakes, and even some of the best one does make mistake, and that was kind of unfortunate for Dane Sinclair. And I'm not going to go too hard on him, knowing the fact that he's kind of still the only reason why this team is at least somewhat competitive this season. But after that goal, it seems like the Revs had all the momentum. I mean, they kind of had the momentum to start the second half, but now they really have all the momentum, and the Loons were just going in full Heath mode. Bo did blast one into Roe Island. I mean, this was not a great shot for Gustavo Bo. He would definitely not want to look that one back. Because of the way that he blasted that one from at least 40 or 50 yards out off target. But Bo did had another opportunity in the 62nd or the 67th minute, but he puts that one wide. That one was a closer attempt, though he would get on the score sheet in the 70th minute as he scored a wonderful free kick. And by the way, the fact that Dane Sinclair actually got a hand to that one, just to show you the fact that Dane Sinclair definitely did not get unfazed because of that mistake that he made. Because with how Bo basically puts that free kick in a postage stamp, the fact that Dane Sinclair did get something out of it is quite incredible. But he just could not push that one away there, and that just like that, the Revs were up 2-1 in this game, and I immediately wrote, this game is done. Like, I know that there's no chance that this Minnesota team is going to come back with the way that they once again blew it again, and this is also another reason why the Heath out kind of drum continue to bang louder and louder, with the way that, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to predict that. We knew this was not going to work, with how many times that he decided to just simply kind of kind of bunker and hope for the best for the rest of the game, and that never tends to work out, especially for a team that is so poorly played on the road. Though there was some temper flare from both teams with some pushing and shoving around the 80th minute mark. Boxo then heads it high from long range. As you know, late in the game, I thought Minnesota finally showed some urgency that they didn't really show for the entire part of the second half. But it seems like it was just too late, and indeed it was, as New England was able to hold on to win 2-1 in this one. And the shots in this one, Minnesota did have the better of the shot. More of the shot, 13 shots compared to 11 that the Revs had. 6 shots on goal compared to 2 that the Revs had. Both teams had 4 shots off target. 5 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that Minnesota has. And possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession that Minnesota has in this game. And again, you know, the Loons, they kind of slightly had the advantage on the stats part. But when you kind of look at this game, this kind of felt like a typical away Adrian Heath kind of tactics on the road for this team, and how many times I've said that it just does not work. And the fact that I'm seeing it again, this is again why I am starting to slowly push it into that Heath out kind of whisper, because I mean I just don't know why he keeps doing this when you know that it doesn't work, where you just decide to bunker for the entire second half and hope for the best to get all 3 points. I mean, in some way, it kind of did work in the last time when the Loons did play on the road against FC Dallas, but even then, that was a rarity, and the fact that he decided to do it again in this one, yeah, I mean, it just shows you why there is a lot of unsatisfaction for Adrian Heath right now for this team, and that the sad thing is, I have no doubt that there is no chance that he's going to be fired from this team, unless if this team go on a long winless run. Because from what I heard, it seems like the ownership are pretty content with Adrian Heath, and that, again, I wonder if this team does not make it to the playoffs, and especially if this team finished very low in the standings, whether if the axe does come on Adrian Heath. Because as much as I know he has done a good job for this team for the past 6 years, Orlando City fans have warned us Loons fans that don't get too complacent with Adrian Heath, because he's going to, as time goes on, his tactics is going to be fine now, and he tends to be very, very stubborn and just doesn't really have any plan to change it up, and we're starting to kind of see it with the way that, I mean, it's just incredibly frustrating, the fact that he's continued to do what is basically now the definition of insanity, of just decided to kind of get a goal early in the game and then just kind of bunker for the rest of the game and just hope for the best. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is NYCFC versus the Colorado Rapids, and the Rapids came very close of pulling off one of the most surprising results from this weekend and almost pull off a perfect road game against NYCFC, because, you know, coming into this game, there was no doubt that Robin Fraser had a perfect game plan in this one, which is, you know, when you do face against NYCFC and you know that they have a very good attack, well, one thing you need to do, especially when you're playing against them on the road, is trying to be very compact in the defensive end, trying to maybe put a low block and see if NYCFC can attack him. And even though I know NYCFC have a lot of talent, there's been some times that they do struggle in terms of the low block, and Colorado really put on a defensive masterpiece throughout this entire game that, again, almost got them all 3 points in this one, though they do have to just settle for a draw in this one. Now, in the 8th minute, Morales puts one straight to Yarbo, and as expected, NYCFC had all the possession, 77-23 in favor of them, but that was all part of the plan for Robin Fraser. He knows that all the Rapids need to do is just keep hitting, putting a good defensive, keep being in a good defensive shape, and maybe go on the counter to hope to get a goal somewhere like that. But that being said, in the 10th minute, that plan looked like it could come back, or it wouldn't work out, because there was a huge shout for a penalty for NYCFC after the fans feel like Yarbrough brought down Magno in the box, and there's definitely a hint that could be a penalty, especially with the way that, yeah, there was some contact between Yarbrough and Magno, especially with the way that, you know, Yarbrough kind of came out, and that it seems like he did kind of make contact with Magno, and I've seen that being called a penalty. But I guess maybe the argument would be that Magno kind of stuck his leg out a little bit to try to kind of initiate that contact. But nevertheless, they didn't give a penalty in terms of that play. But you kind of also sense that the pressure from NYCFC was coming as they pressed for an opener. But like I said, throughout this game, the Rapids were very resolute in defense, and they not only ride out that storm, but they were staying in such a compact shape that they were really suffocating this NYCFC attack. Like, this NYCFC attack at times just kind of look very stale and just kind of look out of ideas because of the fact that there really isn't giving a lot of space to work with, and add to the fact that when you're playing in the closely confined of Yankee Stadium, yeah, it's not a big surprise that NYCFC is struggling when they do face a team that is basically just kind of putting park the bus mode from minute one. Though, that being said, they did had an opportunity in the 34th minute, and, you know, if there's one thing that at least NYCFC can solve in terms of a team that decided to just park the bus against them, is that they have individual talent. And Tati Castellanos is definitely one of them, but he could not put this one away from 10 yards out because the post got in the way. But we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. And in the second half, I thought NYCFC once again pressed early for the opener. Amundsen tried to put a poster span in the top bin, but that one missed wide. I mean, not many times we've seen Multi and Amundsen decide to go from long range there, but he definitely did in this one. Colorado continued to be resolute on the defense and not allowing NYCFC any golden opportunity. And then in the 70th minute, you know, we talked about their game plan where if they can hit NYCFC on the counterattack, which they kind of did a couple of time in this one, but this is finally the one where it paid off as Barrios basically went on the counterattack for the Rapids, and he would end up scoring here to give the Rapids a 1-0 lead, and also ended NYCFC 608 minutes without conceding a goal. Like, they have not conceded a goal in almost 7 games now, and that, yeah, it's quite remarkable, the defensive streak that they've been on. But unfortunately, as the old saying go, all good things has to come to an end, and it came to an end in this play, and that the Rapids were up 1-0 in this game, and the shock would definitely on the fact that the Rapids could pull off a stunning upset in this one. Though in the 71st minute, after Trusty fires it high from long range, the lead would not last long, because in the 72nd minute, Magno would score for Morales and Gray to tie the game up at 1 apiece from NYCFC, and the momentum will swing right back to NYCFC, and they were pressing to try to get that second goal. Castellanos toe poked it just wide before Morales tried to curl it into the top post, but missed that one wide. And then Callens had an opportunity in the 3rd minute of stoppage time, but he heads it high from close range. But in the end, it was a 1-1 draw in this one, a hard-fought point for the Colorado Rapids on the road against the best team in the league. And the shots in this one, 16 shots for the 6 that the Rapids had, 1 shot on goal for the 4 that NYCFC had, 8 shots off target for the 3 that the Rapids had, 2 shots that was blocked for the 4 that NYCFC had, and possession-wise, 66% possession compared to 34% possession that the Rapids has in this game. And I wonder, you know, a lot of teams are probably going to start to maybe take the blueprint that Robin Fraser just showed them how to stop this NYCFC attack, because, you know, for majority of the game, even though I know NYCFC had most of the shots, you know, there wasn't really a lot of golden opportunity from this NYCFC team, and I thought the Rapids, for the most part, really contained this team. Though I will also say that, you know, one thing that maybe a lot of people haven't talked about with NYCFC is all of a sudden they haven't looked at as lethal in front of goal, and that they haven't been a free scoring team as we've seen before. I mean, when you look at the last 4 games in all competition, they've only scored 1 goal in all 4 of those games. So this was not like a team earlier this season when they were at their best. They were like scoring 4 or 5 goals on a regular basis. So I guess maybe this is because teams are starting to try to tighten up, trying to suffocate this NYCFC team, and so far, of course, it works out. And this also now means that, you know, for the new interim head coach Nick Cushion, how is he going to adjust to this? Because, you know, he isn't going to be able to find a way to adjust this. You know, teams are going to continue to play the way like this against NYCFC, and that, you know, NYCFC could be potentially having the same issue that they had last season. Where, remember last season in their MLS Cup win, a lot of people forget that they also went for a really bad run, and during that bad run, they went a long time without scoring a goal. But we'll see if that could happen again, or maybe they'll bounce back after, you know, certainly a game where they looked like they were going to get all 3 points, but they had to settle for a disappointing draw against the Rapids. But that being said, moving on into the next game is Nashville versus Sporting KC, and here we are. This is the biggest surprise of this week, and a game that I'm pretty sure nobody saw this one coming, with Sporting KC dead last in the Western Conference, and yet they walk away from Geodis Park with all 3 points and become the first team to defeat Nashville at Geodis Park. And that, I guess, in some way, as surprising as this result is, you could say that, this is what Sporting KC does. Like, they do not care in terms of the opposition having an incredible home record, and in this case for Nashville, they actually had the longest active home unbeaten streak coming into this game with 25 games. But if there's one thing we know about Sporting KC, is that they don't care about that. They will always find ways to break the long unbeaten run that a team has, or get their first ever wins in against an opposition that have never lost in a new building. But this also is kind of a result that shows that, in MLS, the saying of anybody can beat anybody on any given day is definitely true, because, again, this just proves that even a last place team can beat a team that is in a playoff position. And I also will say that this game basically went from a relatively boring game to a game that basically hit peak MLS level, especially in the latter part of the second half. Now, early on, in the first half, the glare was absolutely brutal on the broadcast. And not only the quality of this game was terrible, and I won't be surprised ratings would be absolutely horrendous in this one, because who would want to just watch this game and realize there's an incredibly bad glare and decide to continue to watch this game? Because, that glare on the other side of the stadium was just brutal in a way where it was kind of blinding me through the TV screen. The other thing that was a problem in this game is the pitch still looked awful. And again, I still don't understand what is going on with the pitch at Geodis Park. This should not be an issue just a couple of games into a new stadium, that the pitch already looked like it has gone through a lot. And this has not been an issue with new stadium too. When you look at all these new stadiums that's built around MLS, they tend to have pitch that kind of start go bad heading into the second year. Not like just 4 games into, or is it 4 games? It's something like in the early life of Nashville playing at Geodis Park, and that, the grounds crew's got to do something to fix that, because you cannot tell me that they should be having the same turf issue that they had in their time when they were sharing Nissan Stadium with the Titans during early days. Because, with that bad pitch, that's excusable because they're sharing a stadium with an NFL team temporarily. But this should not be an issue with them now having a soccer-specific stadium and playing in their brand new home. Now, as expected, Sporting KC had all the possession, with them having 61 to 39% possession over Sporting KC, though only or not over Sporting KC. I mean over Nashville there. I wrote the wrong team there. Sporting KC didn't have majority of the possession against their own team. But, with the way how this season has gone, I wouldn't be surprised that some fans might feel like they haven't been dominating the opposition. Though only 1 shot through the first 15 minutes, as it was a pretty slow game to start in this one. And it was a pretty slow game throughout the entire first half too. Shelton, with one of the premium chances in the first half, had a long-range effort that was tipped over by Willis. The game did kind of start to flip, and Nashville all of a sudden was the team that had all the possession. But again, the attack looked very slow and predictable. And I think this is also kind of something that maybe teams are starting to figure out with Nashville, where as long as you give them possession, and knowing that there's been times Nashville has had a tough time breaking teams down when they are giving possession. This is kind of the resort of it. In fact, as we head into halftime, we thought that this was going to end scoreless, but then in the 41st minute, Sporting KC would score a goal. And it's Hernandez that scored for Sporting KC here, scoring in his hometown in Nashville. It was definitely a great goal from Felipe Hernandez from about 40 yards out, but you also kind of have to question the goalkeeping from Joe Willis. Like, I thought originally that shot from Hernandez might have took a deflection because Joe Willis got completely flat-footed there, but on the replay, it didn't take any deflection. It did take a hopper on that very bad turf, but still, that's one that I feel like for the caliber of Joe Willis, or even as a caliber MLS goalkeeper, you should be able to save that one, or at least palm that one away. And that, again, I don't know how Joe Willis kind of got fooled there by that, but he was kind of flat-footed, had a very late reaction to try to save that, and next thing you know, the ball was in the back of net before he has a chance to palm it away. So yeah, that gives Sporting KC a 1-0 lead, and for Sporting KC, they wouldn't care because of how miserable this season is. They'll take any break that they can get. But in the first minute of stoppage time, Romney did fires it over the bar for Sporting KC as we head to halftime. With Sporting KC leading 1-0, and then in the second half, it would be 2-0 in favor of Sporting KC, as Graham Zusi would score a classic Graham Zusi banger. I mean, I swear, he does this almost every single year, where you know that every single year he's going to at least score an absolute banger goal from about 30 yards out, and he did it again in this one, giving Sporting KC a 2-0 lead. And as much as I was kind of tempting to say that maybe Nashville was in trouble in terms of their unbeaten streak come to an end, seen this story before. I mean, this one thing you cannot count out in this game is Nashville ability to come back in the game, because we've seen so many times, especially at home, they've been able to come back from deficit, and you could argue that it almost happened again in this one too. But there was a shout for a penalty from the Nashville fans that was not given. I mean, these Nashville fans, they were basically shouting for a penalty every time when one of their players fell down in the box. I mean, they were desperate in terms of getting a call that goes in their way. But overall, when I look at the attack of Nashville, again, they continue to look very predictable, and it's getting to a point where not only now they look slow, but they were being too desperate of just putting aimless crosses into the box. And when that usually happens, that is a sign of an attack that is completely out of ideas, and that Sporting KC will gladly take it, because they were easily able to clear those ball away with Nashville, just praying that one of these aimless crosses will somehow find their target. Hernandez then looked to score his second goal, but he missed wide from 10 yards out. Though in the 63rd minute, Nashville had a lifeline, and it's Ake Loba who scored his first goal of the season. And as disappointing as this signing has been for Nashville, with Loba not creating any impact for this team, and is considered probably one of the worst DP so far for this season and also in the previous year, he scored here to give Nashville some life. But though that really kind of came off of a turnover from Sporting KC in their own half, and I think it was Camp Duke that just basically turned the ball over in your own half. And yeah, you just cannot do that and not expect to potentially give up a goal there. And yeah, Nashville took advantage of it. They're back into this game, and I mean, we've seen this story before, because as soon as you give Nashville a chance to come back in the game, this is not good news for you. And I feel like for Sporting KC, knowing the fact that this team has gone through so many bad moments, this looks like it is inevitable that Nashville is going to come back from this. Another huge shout for a penalty from the Nashville fans in the 68th minute, not given again. Sharawi then fires it over the bar in the 73rd minute before Mule puts it wide from 21 yards out. And as the time winds down, I feel like Sporting KC were definitely on the ropes. Like, they were in full park the bus mode. They were looking to just trying to hang on in this, and Nashville continued to press for the equalizer. And it looked like Nashville did get the equalizer in the 85th minute as CJ Sapont scored there, but unfortunately the goal was disallowed for offside. And really, take your pick in terms of which exactly is being called for offside, because not only Sapont was in an offside position when he tapped it in, Mukhtar was also in an offside position when he went on the attacking sequence and feed the ball to CJ Sapont. So yeah, the score remains 2-1. But then in the 86th minute, a penalty was given to Nashville as Ndembe brought down Mule in the box, and this is where we start to begin to go into full MLS after dark mode, and just kind of peak MLS mode. I mean, I know this game was happening in daytime, so you can't really call this MLS after dark, but you can definitely call this peak MLS moment, because this is where it kind of starts a crazy sequence where, first of all, there was question whether or not if that should have been a penalty, because it definitely looked like Mule kind of gone down a little bit too easily, though, Ndembe did kind of stick a lit out of that or initiate the challenge. And yeah, I mean, when you're a defender and you initiate a challenge and you don't get the ball, you know the attacker is going to go down easily, and that, you know, in some way I would say that was smart from Alex Mule, decide to kind of go down, even though I know some would not like it. It's just the way it is. Attackers will try to look for any contact or any weak contact, and they're just going to go down on the ground easily and hope that they can get the call, which it seemed like that was going to be the case because they were lining up to ready to take the penalty, and Hani Mukhtar was ready to do so. But then Roger Espinoza decided to kind of rush in, and he kind of decided to move the ball in the wrong position and not from the spot. Now, originally it looked like it was a dumb move from Roger Espinoza, and maybe a very typical Roger Espinoza kind of shithousery move. But little did we know that that move actually turns out to maybe give Sporting KC all 3 points. Well, actually not maybe, but definitely give SKC all 3 points, and that also turns out to be a 150 IQ move from Roger Espinoza, because after when he moved the ball away there and he of course got a yellow card, the referee decided to go to VAR to check to see whether or not if there was actually an offside that was happening on the attacking sequence before we had the penalty, and the answer is yes. There was an offside when the ball was coming in, and just like that, the referee decided to reverse the call and just decided to say no penalty because there was an offside on the attacking sequence. So yeah, it was kind of bananas in terms of how that sequence of course went out, and it's not very often you see a referee decide to kind of book a player, and then next one you know, I think he must have heard something from the VAR officials say, well, maybe you should go and look back because we think there might be a partial offside. Either way, you know, what Roger Espinoza did there was just a 150 IQ move, maybe even a 200 IQ move there, because by delaying that penalty that is taken, like, have he not delayed that penalty kick that is taken, I don't think that the referee would have gone to VAR to check whether or not if there is an offside. And that, yeah, I mean, that just kind of shows you that sometimes there's a reason why a lot of teams kind of try to delay the other team to take the penalty, because you never know. Maybe the referee might have some doubt, or maybe the VAR the official have some second doubt and might ask the referee to look at something in the monitor, and it kind of worked out in the end for Sporting KC. So yeah, no penalty was given, and in the latter part of the game, as Nashville continued to push for the equalizer, Washington blasted it into the stands in the 8th minute. And yeah, that was the last chance for Nashville, as in the end, Sporting KC pull off an upset of the week and pull off one of the biggest upset this season, winning 2-1 on the road against Nashville, ending their 25-game unbeaten home run. And the shots in this one, 9 shots for the 8 that Sporting KC had, 2 shots on goal for the 4 that Sporting KC had, 6 shots off target for the 3 that Sporting KC had. Both teams had 1 shot that was blocked, and possession-wise, 61% possession compared to 39% possession that Sporting KC has in this game. But overall, what a crazy game this was. And it also kind of just shows you that even in the most boring game in MLS, you can still have these kind of crazy games that happen. And that, yeah, for Sporting KC now getting themselves off the table, and knowing the fact that they're also are getting some reinforcement coming, maybe the season isn't lost for them. I mean, they still have a long way to dig themselves out of the bad hole that they got in, but maybe the season isn't entirely over for them, and they're trying to salvage something. But on the other hand, for Nashville SC, yeah, this is a very frustrating resort, and this is also something that we're starting to once again seeing from last season, where this is a team we know that they can get points on the road and able to get resort on the road, but it's all about the home form. The home form was a problem for Nashville last season, and I guess a lot of that has to do with the style that Gary Smith played, where it just feels like this is the style that he plays fits Nashville well on the road. But when it comes to home form, that could be a different story, because you can't just simply bunker for the whole game and trying to hit team on the counterattack at home, unless if you were the Portland Timbers, which they kind of did a very successful way in terms of doing that. But then eventually teams will find that out, and that I feel like right now teams are finding out how to play Nashville, where as long as you just give them possession, they're not going to hurt you. And so far, guys like Mukhtar and Sapon and even Layal just haven't really made a big impact in terms of have to break down a low block kind of team as they would if they were playing on the on the transitional attack. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of these 4 games. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.